Venom, The Last Dance. Was this a solid dance number by Sony, or did it prove to have two left feet? Let's talk about it. Welcome back, Geek Variant. So today we're talking about Venom: The Last Dance. This movie just came out in theaters officially today, and while it is something I've been waiting for because I'm trying to see what they plan on doing to segue possibly into the Spider-Man universe and how the setup is, especially after that end credit scene. We finally have our answer, and it's probably not what we expected or wanted, but who knows? It's kind of just going wherever it wants to go. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This is going to be all over the place because this movie was all over the place. Eddie is essentially at the same bar that we last saw him in, drinking and making, Bloody Marys or whatever he's doing with Venom and just getting completely, just tanked. And in the process of that, they find out that they are wanted, specifically Eddie is wanted for the connection of the, Pat Mulligan. He is no longer around. Remember, he was kind of strung up at the end of the last Venom movie. So all that has been pinned on Eddie, and he is now on the run trying to figure out what to do and how to avoid all that. Ultimately, they decide that they are going to get out of here, and they see a statue of the Statue of Liberty, and they're like, okay, let's go to New York. Okay, we're sick. We're getting somewhere here. Like, New York is where Spider-Man is. So we're segueing into this. That's what it seems like. That's what we want to see, right? This just shows him on the run for pretty much the entire movie. He is on the run from multiple things at work. So first, he's on the run from just local authorities for being the one charged in connection with Mulligan. The other one is the symbiote, which is connected to Eddie, is being hunted by the United States government, like it's been in the past. So if they've been hunting down, trying to do experiments, whether it be the Life Foundation or whatever, somebody is always hunting Venom. They want the symbiotes, and they've been going around trying to capture symbiotes however they can. As we see, as the movie progresses on, we see this guy named Strickland, who, is just out there trying to get things done. Like, he wants to make sure that all the symbiotes are rounded up and take over. He doesn't like the little kind of, I guess, the house game that they're playing with the symbiotes where they're kind of taking over. Like, he wants to make sure that the symbiotes are taken out and set up for whatever purposes that whoever his higher ups need them for. Now, this character Strickland, and I'm gonna butcher these names. Chiwetel Ejiofor. I can't ever say his name, but he's a fantastic actor. He played Baron Mordo. Like, love the guy. He is Strickland, and he is trying to get stuff done. So he has that very demanding presence. In the process of this, through the entire movie, he's kind of focused on that one goal, taking care of his people, getting symbiotes. While his counterpart, which is Teddy Payne, she's the scientist who lost her brother in this freak lightning accident with that, kind of messed up her left arm, kind of paralyzed it. It's got the kind of the electrical burns and stuff from like lightning bolt. So she's kind of dedicated her life to doing what her brother dreamed of doing, which was doing experiments there at Roswell and kind of seeing what the galaxy has to offer, all that kind of stuff. So she's kind of living, her brother's dream, I guess, to honor him or whatever case to me. So it's just the agony of losing her brother that is really driving her to do this. Keep that in mind. So with that being said, they kind of have a little back and forth. She's all about science and the results and wanting to do this. He's all about mainly taking care of his people and make sure everybody gets home. With that being said, basically they keep converging on Eddie because they keep noticing him throughout security cameras and all this kind of stuff. They're connected to every security camera in the world, it seems like. So they got ones down in Mexico, ones all throughout the US, whatever security cameras they need access to, they have access to. And they're hunting down. Now, the other hunters, specifically, we started with Null. Null is, you see him encased in his prison. He's kind of explaining his story, and he is trapped. And he has these symbiote hunters, the xenophage, that he still has the ability, or they have the ability themselves to teleport to all these different worlds and he sends them, and he will reward them with their life if they bring him back something called the Codex. He sends them out to go after his symbiote children, specifically the one that has the Codex, and bring this back because it's the key to unlocking him. He's betrayed by his children. He wants freedom, and he wants to go continue to be the slicer of worlds, all this other kind of stuff. He needs that key to unlock himself to be free to do whatever it is. So this is setting him up to be a big bad. All right. So he is technically not the antagonist of this movie. It is more or less Venom has multiples to deal with. Again, the U.S. military and the xenophage specifically are the ones that he's dealing with primarily. Knowledge is kind of there. All right. So, I mean, he's a bigger deal. He's a bigger threat. So I kind of get that. Like, I don't mind that, especially when you got, top tier, playing them and stuff like that. Like, that's the whole goal of having this whole thing set up, is to have the big bad there to kind of orchestrate everything, like Thanos. Either way, throughout the entirety of this movie, it's the same thing. It's going to be Venom jumping around throughout different creatures at some point, transforming animals into Venomizers, which is kind of the whole ploy of the little kind of app thing that they had going on social media. Venomize your pets. That was the thing. We see the horse in the trailer. So we got the horse. We also have frogs and fish and other things that are venomized throughout the movie as he's jumping from creature to creature throughout the course of the movie to make sure that Eddie is taken care of. Because again, they have technology that can, separate the symbiote from, whether it be like the sound wave things. So that there's the main thing that they're using, kind of like a sound wave cannon. They haven't really been using fire like that, but sound wave is enough. But again, Venom is the one that's being hunted for those other reasons, just because one wants to get a hand on the symbiote, others want their hand on freaking Brock to pay for what he's done, and then Noah wants it for the Codex. Now let's talk about why he has the Codex real quick. Venom has the Codex because in Venom 2, Eddie Venom seemingly, died and was reborn thanks to Venom. Like he was, all that stuff was kind of brought back around. That in turn produced the Codex some type of way. Some kind of bond in that form caused the Codex. Again, I've only watched the movie once. I got to watch it several more times to make sure I understand everything and the whole complexity of it. But for right now, that's what it is. So he just had to, die and become one with the symbiote, so to speak. When they became one, that's what triggered the Codex. And that's the key. And now it's like a beacon. So every time Venom is in his full form, it's ringing like a beacon on the back of his neck. And that's how the xenophage is able to track. Now, I don't know who else is able to track this stuff specifically, if it's just the xenophage, just through its tracking ability. We know that the symbiotes have a hive mind. So essentially, all the other symbiotes are communicating to a degree, so they know Venom has the Codex and that Venom needs to be more or less protected or destroyed. Like you can't keep the Codex if one half of it dies. So either get rid of Eddie or get rid of Venom, and the Codex is gone, which lets the world be safe and no null, seemingly. So throughout this process, again, he's on the run, he's being hunted, and they're getting answers and stuff from, they keep going back to talk to Mulligan, who is alive. They end up bringing him in like cryogenic stasis. And what happens is essentially it looks like, and again, I got to go back and make sure I understand the explaining. Looks like he was taken out. His symbiote was lost, which from the comics and stuff, we know that his symbiote is toxin and stuff. But he has the symbiote that he's attached to, more or less, his eyes kind of flash like a bluish green. Toxin is more like a black and red, something like that. But this symbiote is like a bluish green, and it's more or less he turns into the symbiote who's got like a serpent-like tail. So more or less, body of the symbiote, how they normally are, with a serpent-like tail. And that's how he's kind of been communicating when he transforms into that form, and he communicates. That's what he is. I did not care for that because I was kind of hoping for toxin and stuff, but this was more or less a different. I don't know if they just didn't want to go the same route that they kind of went with Riot or anyway, which toxin is strong. Like everybody was like, okay, we don't mess with toxin, because toxin was like, yo, came from Carnage, like, yo, I'm gonna fight you too. Toxin was about that life. Either way, all this stuff kind of comes to a head as the Xenophage keeps getting random tracking beacons from Venom when he changes form, either to save Eddie's life or to do a stupid dance number with Mrs. Chin. With that, he ends up randomly running into her at a casino and has a whole dance number with her, and that allows him to more or less get tracked. And which some of this stuff kind of throws me off. He more or less gets tracked, and basically ends up getting captured and taken back to Area 51, where all this stuff is going on. Now, Area 51 is being decommissioned, which means everything that's happening underground, 100 floors underground and sublevels or whatever, is still being sanctioned by some military, government, body, entity, whatever. But the actual Area 51 base itself has been decommissioned. They keep bringing vehicles and stuff up to this little acid vat bath, which I knew was going to be a plot point at some point. And they're just dumping acid on stuff to completely corrode it, I guess, to get rid of evidence stuff, which is just kind of weird. I don't know how else to put it. It just doesn't make sense. Like, you're just dumping everything in acid. So that if that was the case, you just implode the whole base and stuff, from inside out. Just, I won't say nuke it, but you take it out. Now, throughout the course of this, again, it's just stupid. The movie just doesn't make sense. Again, the story is thin, and so that, like, it doesn't help the narrative as far as what we kind of thought was going, which is, okay, you're trying to make a journey to New York, you're trying to outrun these other things, and I kind of get that, but it doesn't do anything. Like, the Xenophage can only track the symbiote whenever it's in the symbiote form. Other than that, it doesn't really see anything. Every time we're shown from its vision, it doesn't really see anything. It sees vague kind of figures, and every time it stops and it can't see whatever it's looking for, it runs away. But it's able to accurately jump and climb on stuff, so it has some type of vision. But it just, when it's not the codex, everything seems to look like the same color. Everything's just kind of like a black and white gray sort of that, but nothing's distinguished. So that's kind of the part that I'm not getting. So when you do that, and this thing is basically able to track that, how is it able to follow the helicopter back to the base and climb into the base and start all types of ruckus? Because that's where it's going, when it can't see specifically the symbiote unless it's in its form. And Venom did not change in its form. Like, it was extracted from Eddie at that point. Like, once it got captured with the whole dance number, it was extracted. They were separated. How do you track? I don't know. Again, bear with me. I'm kind of all over the place. Basically, a fight ensues. At some point in time, one of the lab assistants, who's just very about her family, Sadie, I think is her name. Yeah, Sadie is with that. She ends up kind of feeling everything, and she's like the right hand woman of Teddy Payne, who was just focused on results. And let me go back and mention real quick. Eddie actually had, during the chase scene, he's on the run the entire time. He ends up accidentally, or purposely, taking out one of the agents that was sent to take him out. Again, they pulled a gun on him. He was trying to protect himself. Venom was not attached to him. So that's the first life that he had to take of his own hands, of his own will. It wasn't part of Venom. So that was kind of weighing on him a little bit. So that's one of the reasons why Strickland ended up like, I want control of what's going on. I want to run the show. I don't care about what it is, because, again, Dr. Payne was like, can you get samples? Like, the Xenophage, also, can you get samples? Because they've seen the Xenophage, they've seen everything's going on. He's not worried about that. He's trying to get the symbiote and make sure his people are taken care of. And he lost a bunch of his people. I think he lost like 3 people. So he's mad. So either way, back to the base. Again, when everything's wrong, he ends up, hey, boss, can I take over? Can I run the show? Yes. All this cleared out. I don't care about none of this and stuff like that. I got Eddie. I'm going to take him out because I'm done with this. I'm messing nonsense. In the process, as Sadie, they have Venom captured now, along with several other symbiotes in these little containment things. For some odd reason, just randomly, Venom has bonded to her for a split second just to escape. Like, she helped Venom escape and to get back to Eddie when they were going to release Eddie, basically for him being taken out. Venom jumps out of her and into Eddie and is able to kind of start going to work. Why? We only kind of saw a glimpse of her kind of looking at the symbiote inside the cage. And then next thing you know, it's jumping out of her. Just throws before loop. Why? She just felt bad, or she wanted to make sure people are safe. I kind of get that part. Like she, everybody knows about No now because Mulligan, Toxin, I guess what it has explained that this is what's going on. It's a world-ending event. Sadie doesn't want to, go down like that. Doesn't want the human race to go down like that. So she's going to protect as best she can. So I guess she made the choice to get Venom, and it's supposed to be a surprise. Here's Venom, and he starts getting to work. Of course, that brings in the Xenophage, who comes in, starts wrecking house. Now, Xenophage is tearing up stuff. Everybody's trying to fight it, and it's like, yo, we got to get this done. Release the symbiotes. We got to protect stuff. We end up seeing, this guy named Martin and his family that Eddie met along the way as part of the chase. Again, they gave him a ride to Vegas. Again, not really important character. They just want to see aliens. It's there. This is played by Rhys Ifan. This is the same guy who played Kurt Connors in the Spider-Man franchise. So, the world that Eddie is in is not the same as Andrew Garfield's. And we know Tom Holland, again, was the one that he got, jumped into. And we have Tobey Maguire, who already has had a Venom in his universe. So with that being said, Tobey Maguire is out. Andrew Garfield, again, Kurt Connors, actor playing two different ones. So I don't really, that they may or may not do something, but it's already been said that, if anybody that Tom Hardy works with, any Spider-Man he's going to work with, he'd rather work with Tom Holland. So that just kind of leans more into that. But I don't think we're going to see an Andrew Garfield or kind of something that I was hoping for. I don't think that's coming at all. Either way, so basically everybody's so scrapping, and the symbiotes start jumping into people. Not everybody's named. You got two symbiotes that kind of freaking merge and become like a two-headed hybrid type symbiote. Not sure of the comic origin at. We see that Sadie actually takes on the persona of Lasher. She's got the tentacles and stuff like that, just constantly stabbing and lashing, stuff like that. So that's pretty great. Looks like there's possibly it looked like it was Scorn for a split second that was back there. It's like another purple one. Looked like Phage was there, throwing hands. So there's like 6 symbiotes, but not all of them were like readily identified, or it was kind of quick in passing. Again, I'm watching the movie. It's action, trying to catch everything. I'm not going to catch everything, but a couple ones are notable. So Lasher, extremely noticeable. That's what that's the one. Toxin, which again, it wasn't the Toxin, but the eyes were glowing the same color when Pat was strung up, and it's the same colors as the one that's there. So I'm going to go with Toxin. That could be wrong, but that's what I'm going to go with for now. And we'll see if it gets listed later on as to actually which one it is. I got to go back and scroll in credits and see if they mention it as Toxin. So everybody's scrapping, and these xenophages start taking out symbiotes. Like they got chainsaw grinder, like think tree shredder. That's what that, like the whole tree grinder. Like you throw the tree in, zzz, out the back of the head. That's what it does. So anytime a symbiote goes in, basically it's taken out, and whoever's with it's taken out with it, and tree bark. And that's pretty much how the symbiotes are being eliminated, because that's what this thing is, a symbiote hunter. So it's eliminating them one by one. But it's got clear vision. Like it is just scrapping with everything that's out there. So the vision that it kind of showed before, I wish it would have showed like some heat vision or something. So that's so it can kind of distinguish. But again, it's just scrapping based off, I guess, sound or whatever feeling it has for creatures at the time. Eventually, all the symbiotes start getting taken out. One by one, they start getting taken out. Till eventually there is none left, and it's just Venom. Eventually, Strickland ends up fighting with Venom, and they start trying to take out the Xenophage. The Xenophage ends up phoning home. So with that, and you got more ETs, coming in, and now it's like 5 of them freaking, and just Venom, and Venom's trying to hold it down. Eventually, as everything goes down, Venom ends up taking out all of them in one shot by basically grabbing them all together, so that and doing one last ditch effort of pull all these guys to the vat of acid, which was a kind of a play in there. We kind of saw it coming. pulls everybody to the badass, and this is where you get the last dance from. Is like, I'm going to sacrifice myself for the greater good. This is what it's going to be. I'm going to be the lethal protector and basically get Strickland, because we saw this earlier. Strickland has to ID code with his eyes and his voice to activate the acid bath. So he activates the acid bath on Venom. Can't really hold it. Venom stands him up, like, yo, keep going. Eddie is spit out, shielded, and Venom is just taking the brunt of everything to take all the xenophage with him in the process of this acid bath and essentially sacrifice himself. Very noble, heartfelt moment with Venom. So that flashbacks for that, like, really good ending, I guess, as far as like the heartfelt moment with that. But again, everything was kind of all over the place to get here. Strickland eventually ends up, I think he throws a grenade and stuff to like takes himself out in the process and eliminates himself. And we see Teddy Payne at some point. She has a sliver of symbiote inside a little vial that looks like it's been charged or something like that. She ends up breaking it. And when she breaks it, that symbiote immediately bonds to her. And guess what? She becomes Agony. You know, I gave you the answer earlier. She becomes Agony, so she's got the speed powers, and she zips in, grabs Sadie, who is trying to run away, and does the classic trip fall. I'm not going to make it. And Sadie runs back, grabs her, and pulls her forward. So Sadie is the only symbiote left currently alive, running around right now on Earth, as far as I know. She is the one. Venom is essentially taken out. Eddie Brock, his whole record has been expunged in light of thank you for your service, which you're trying to hang the whole Mulligan thing on him. And like, so what are you going to tell the public? Because you've kind of blasted that out all over TV. But now his whole record's been expunged. Don't tell anybody about it. But like, are they going to make a statement exonerating him? Like, freaking, what's going on with that? I don't know. Essentially, he's free to go. So he's walking around New York. He gets to New York. He's walking around New York, and he's kind of saying, you know, goodbye to Venom. He's going to see the Statue of Liberty, all this little cool stuff, and that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the end of the movie. Again, it's not super spectacular. It's not awesome. It's currently doing better than Madam Web, that's for sure. I think it's at like a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes versus Madam Web's 11%. And we do know that Craven, I guess, is out later this year. Is it later this year? Craven's out. Another movie for Sony. Again, they're trying to keep their lock and hold on Spider-Man IP by keep making movies. So this movie did not need to do good. Let's just be honest. Like, it did not need to do good. So that their budget was like 150 million or something like that, and I think they cleared 180 million already for opening, which means they've already made a profit. So whatever they do from this point on is just profit. Like, they can just run the gambit with, so that it doesn't matter at this point. Now, there are end credit scenes. It's 2 end credit scenes. End credit scene 1 shows Null still vowing to get out. He is going to get out some type of way. Don't know how that's going to happen with this particular thing because of how the Codex was created, but apparently there's going to come up with some type of way to get him out, and he's going to start running around and wreaking havoc. So that's going to be a thing. That's going to be a, in-game level threat where they got to scrap at some point in time. Again, part of this could be, going into Secret Wars, because between Secret Wars and Doomsday, the 4th Spider-Man movie has been announced and is projected for 2026. So with that being said, we could see Tom Hardy, make his way to the MCU as part of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Spider-Man is still Sony, but again, it's in conjunction with the MCU. So if they're going to run it solo, or they're still going to have MCU references throughout whatever their contract is, that remains to be seen. The second end credit scene was showing a cockroach. This is something that was said earlier, that those cockroaches, those little things can survive. They survive millions of years. And they can survive anything. So seeing this cockroach, I think it's just a nod to Venom still surviving. Again, this cockroach necessarily didn't look like it was venomized. It could be, but it didn't like show it. So that, but again, that's kind of just a door open, they left open that they can walk through and bring Venom back at any point in time. Versus also that drop that was left on the counter, that thing by the barman, like the other thing, because the barman was shown at the end running out, like what happened, or I don't know, like he took off running because he was snatched up earlier just to get questioned, nothing important, right? And then he's shown at the end, so the cockroach could hitch a ride on him and go back to the bar and find a little note. Like there's ways that they could do it, they can play around with it. All in all, this movie was more just fun than anything. Again, it's positive on the Rotten Tomatoes, so I think like 70-something%. Did I enjoy the movie for what it was? I enjoyed it for just being fun. Again, I think everybody went in with low expectations. It was just fun to watch and see some of the references and stuff like that. But as far as story and continuity and stuff goes, which y'all know it's a big thing for me, that it was seriously lacking. I was not feeling it. If I could give it a number out of 10, ballpark, maybe 3, 4, somewhere in there. Like it was not good. Like Madam Web's like a 1. Like there's just that's down. So this should give you the ballpark of where I'm at with Venom. I think they could have done a lot better with this. But again, Sony is trying to hold on to the rights of Spider-Man. I don't think that they're necessarily playing as nice with Marvel as they could be to really make these things be profitable and good as far as storytelling goes, because you can run concurrent stories and be fine. If you still want to keep the Spider-Man universe over here and just more or less kind of run it, because again, you did the thing with Spider-Man is good. Spider-Man can now run solo with this. And again, if you just get Marvel's input on some of this, which again, Marvel hasn't been the greatest, so that, but if you take, like the people who did Across the Spider-Verse, you get some, ask for their help. Like they're good at writing stories. They've done a fantastic job with the Spider-Verse series so far. So that I can't wait to see the third one. Get some more input and like start actually trying to make these movies make sense, like make them connect in a way that makes sense versus we're all over the place trying to figure out who's doing what, where does this connect to, how does this make sense and stuff. Like you put those Easter eggs in there that make sense for us to find, oh, this is how this can connect, and let us, theorize what's going to happen next, because everything that you've done so far within the Sony universe has just been, I won't say everything, most things have been lackluster as of late. So with that, Spider-Mans have been pretty solid. So that, but again, you're working with Marvel for a lot of that stuff versus, Venom. First one was second one corny, but you figured something out. Third one, I don't know what you're doing. Craven, you're trying to make Craven. I guess I don't know what you're trying to do with Craven. Seems like he's like, I want Craven to be Craven, but from the trailers, Craven's not really being Craven, and the trailers haven't differed too much from the actual movie. So I'm still curious to see. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, see what you're gonna do with that. But you didn't decide what Vulture brought in. I don't know if you're still trying to do the Sinister Six at some point and you're trying to put it together. And it's one of the reasons why you took Vulture out of the MCU and brought it to like Morbius and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to do. So Sony, please help me. Freaking people in the comments, please help me. What is going on with Sony? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to put together? That's pretty much all I got for this one. Like I'm done ranting. Like this was a movie that I really wanted to, do something to segue into Spider-Man. And I think that they're trying, but I don't know where they're going to go with it. So we'll just wait and see. Until then, I will catch you guys in the next one. So we out.